Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about why I honestly believe that strength standards out there are so low because gym culture has specifically taught people to be weak. It has nothing to do with their actual abilities. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit. Let's talk about this. And when I say that people who run like my free novice program, when I say that it's normal for guys to get to 225 bench or 2 plate a side bench, 3 plate a side squat, 4 plate per side deadlift, and at least a plate and some change on the overhead press in their first year, that's normal. That's average. That people are like, no, that's crazy. I'd never be able to bench 225 drug free. Right? And I mean, I even heard like the muscle metrics guy say that who's used gear. He's like, I'd never be able to bench a 225 for reps without drugs. I'd never be able to do that. It's not within my genetic ability. Guys, those are normal numbers. Those are normal numbers. And when I say the same thing, that I think it's reasonable to expect a healthy young man to reach a goal of being able to press 200, bench 300, squat 400, deadlift 500, that's normal, that's a perfectly reasonable lifetime goal for a natural male who follows good programs, who isn't even trying to compete in powerlifting. I'm not talking about guys competing in powerlifting because those are not acceptable numbers in powerlifting. That wouldn't be acceptable. That's not training for powerlifting. That's just building a strength base. And that those are reasonable expectations. And that I've known guys who train for strength who are genetically gifted and natural, who stay lean. There are 200-pound guys out there who I know, like Nico, who I pointed out, who squats 500, deadlifts over 600. Natty weighing under 200 pounds, and he never competed in powerlifting in his life. No desire to. He's just genetically gifted, and that's the difference. So why are we in this situation? Because people have taught to be weak. And the difference is when you go to a powerlifting gym, and this is a thing that coaches have noted over the years, when you go to an actual strength gym, whatever the normal is there, new members who walk into that gym get to that normal very, very fast. Why? Because they see how the other guys train, and there's an expectation for them to reach it. In other words, if the average squat in a gym is 600 pounds and a new guy joins who only squats 300, he gets to 600 within 2 to 3 years. He gets there because he just does what everyone else is doing. And that's now the bar. That's the expectation. And that's what people need to understand. So when you see people who are weak in commercial gyms, it's because of all the bro culture that's taught them that lifting really heavy may not be what you want to do. You'll get hurt. YouTubers oftentimes teach us, unfortunately, that there's no expectation to actually do proper training. And because they do so much fluff and pump, it actually interferes with their recovery. And that's a big take-home message I try to teach to guys. When it comes to all this isolation you guys are doing, a lot of people say, well, bigger muscles, stronger muscles, so if it makes it bigger, it should help. Well, the problem is that it's disproportionate, meaning you're investing a lot of recovery and connective tissue recovery and everything else in all this fluff and pump exercises you're doing and getting minimal return on your investment. They work for guys who are on large amounts of drugs that will allow them to recover. If you're not using large amounts of drugs and you're training that way, your progress is going to be slower. It's just going to be slower because people do that instead of focusing on the basics. And if you guys don't believe that, look at people who run my programs, the strength base they build. Look at guys who run starting strength. Look at guys who run strong lifts. How come every time you see a group of guys who get on one of those programs together, even if they're 30 years old, they reach those sort of numbers? On very basic linear progression programs. It's because that's the expectation of the program. They're actually focusing on the basics and getting stronger and better on the basics. And some people would argue, well, I don't know, their physiques don't progress much faster than the average gym bro sometimes. Yeah, but they're still stronger and fitter, and they're still progressing just as well as the average gym bro in regards to how they look. And oftentimes they're exceeding that. When there's no drugs involved, you compare just the normal guys who go to the gym day in and day out. They end up exceeding them quite often, but they're stronger and healthier for it. They're more functional and useful as a result of it, because strength also has enormous benefits to your health, your athleticism, your well-being, your confidence, everything else outside of just the aesthetic component. And I honestly believe that if we didn't have all this weeder nonsense, and if gyms handed out free books to every member who joined a gym and had someone there who coached basic barbell exercises, that's their job, and they handed out a bunch of free linear programs. I don't care whether they handed them out starting strength, 5-3-2, 5-3-1, I get that mixed up. Hell, one of my free programs, strong lifts, and they showed them where to download the apps on their phones and little guides to the basic exercises. And people just came in and focused on some basic progression on 4 to 6 barbell movements and or weighted body weight exercises. And that's what was taught, and that's also what was taught maybe in high school. Maybe had high school weight classes where that was taught, and isolation movements didn't even exist in these gyms, meaning the cable section disappeared, the machine sections disappeared, and gyms were full of racks and plates that everyone who trains would reach those sort of goals. Meaning the numbers that I just gave would actually be average and normal, and no one would even question it. Like, it wouldn't even be questioned. It would just be expected that every guy who walks in a gym benches 2 plates and squats 3 plates in their first year. That would just be normal. And every guy who's been in the gym 3 or 4 years, who doesn't care about powerlifting at all, would be hitting 200, 300, 400, 500 press, bench press, squat, deadlift. Those would be normal. And if we start having things like power cleans and snatches being thrown in, everyone who joins gyms and who trains regularly would be stronger and more muscular and a hell of a lot more functional than they are. It's because people have been taught to train in a way that reduces what they're capable of doing, and there's a low level of expectation because of it. And because of all the bro splits that have been pushed and all the fluff and pump that's been pushed, that this is the way to train, it has brought the bar down. It's brought the bar way down as far as what the average person should be capable of doing. What the average genetic, ungifted 30-year-old male who walks into a gym probably only reaches 20% to 30% of the potential they could have reached over the next 3 years when they go into a gym. And that's the reason for it. And it's because the mediocrity has been taught to be the norm. It really is. That's the problem. Because there's no one there teaching these exercises correctly. People aren't being given all these programs that are easy to get and free these days due to the internet. And the ironic thing is, you go see gyms like CrossFit gyms, and the average guy in a CrossFit gym is dramatically stronger than the average guy at a commercial gym. And what's interesting is that I see women who, at this point, I see more women who train at commercial gyms who are stronger relative to their size and their training than most men are. And that's the reality of it, because the difference seems to be that women seem to be able to grasp this more because they haven't been as indoctrinated as much into the bro culture. They actually come in and focus on the big movements. I see a lot more women doing that, and they end up getting better results than most guys do in the gym. And that's the simple reality. It's the exercise selection, the training style, and the expectations that have been given have changed things. And the difference is, when you walk into any real strength gym, you find out real quickly that average genetics don't stop guys from getting brutally strong, being way stronger than some of the strongest guys in commercial gyms. That because it becomes the norm, that's the expectation when you walk in, that's the culture, and therefore they get strong. They get strong. And it's my hope that over time that the internet, more strong guys on, say, YouTube, will influence that also, and people will understand that it's not exceptional to have a 400-pound squat. That doesn't represent a trained power lifter. That's nothing special. And that actually the average guy, the average healthy male, is capable of walking in and training to do a full depth 400-plus squat who doesn't even specialize in powerlifting. It's perfectly doable. And it's not even an unreasonable expectation. It's just that people have been taught that it is. And that's the only reason. The only reason they've been taught that something that's perfectly normal and not that difficult to do is exceptional, and therefore the standard has been lowered so much that people actually believe that it's something difficult to achieve when it actually isn't. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.